last week I wore a t-shirt and shorts, and then also a heavy winter coat, and then I had to get out a bunch of rain gear. Then on Tuesday, seriously, I cannot believe this weather because I'm an atheist and we have trouble believing, but it's not as bad as my neighbor. He's agnostic. He doesn't know whether or not we have weather or not. I heard some disturbing weather news recently. A bunch of science men said a couple of things. The science men and the science ladies that they reluctantly allowed on board. I don't need to call Times for a second. Times. For many years, it was just science men. And then they said, fine, we'll allow a science lady. And the first science lady was Marie Curie, who's the only person who won 2 different Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields of science. And she discovered radiation. And she discovered the only substance harder than diamonds. It's an avocado from Trader Joe's. What if the Russians were able to weaponize that technology? If that avocado fell into the wrong hands, it would crush those hands. Time's back in. Anyway, the sciencemen, they said a couple of things. They said every year they look at all the numbers, and generally, for the most part, July of any given month is the hottest month of that year. And I thought back when I was a kid, 4th of July, always hot, always July. The evidence bears that out. I'm not going to argue with that, all right? But what they said next was they said July of last year was the hottest month on earth ever. And that's a bold thing to say because we're not done with ever yet, okay? It's a little early to be handing out trophies, okay? It might not even be the hottest month of the decade. Let's just see how it plays out, okay, sciencemen? Ever for the Earth began when the Earth began, which is 4.5 billion years ago and 2.5 years. I've done all the research so you guys don't have to, and I talked to the specialists, and they told me that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and that was about 2.5 years ago, so you would have to add that to its age. And then the Earth will continue to exist for another 5 to 7 billion years, minus the 2.5 years that have already transpired, at which time the sun will turn into a red giant and consume the Earth. So that period of time, that stretch of time is ever for the Earth, and we're not even halfway done. And you don't crown a champion before mid-season, all right? I'm no gambling guy, but if I were, I'd put all my money on probably the last month of ever. I bet you that one. Pretty warm, I think. Don't you think so? You know?
Subscribe to Dry Bar Comedy for even more of the world's largest collection of clean comedy.